The night sky burned with the reflection of countless metal giants marching across the ruins of the old world. Towers once filled with life now stood hollow and cold, their surfaces glowing faintly from the heat of distant fires. Among the broken streets, a lone human warrior moved silently through the dust, his armor scratched and his eyes heavy with purpose. His name was Arik, once a soldier of Earth, now the last hope of what remained of humankind. He carried an ancient blade, made not of steel, but of woven light, a relic forged before the machines had taken control. It hummed softly in his hand as if whispering to him that the time of choice had come. Ahead, beyond the broken gates, stood a figure not of humankind. Her presence glowed faintly against the pale moonlight, her form tall, her silver hair flowing like water. She was Queen Zynara, ruler of the last free alien realm, a realm that had long resisted both man and machine. For years, humans and Zynara's people had fought across the stars, spilling blood over the right to exist. Yet now the machines had risen against both, and neither could survive alone. When Arik saw her standing among the fallen pillars, he felt the tension of ages pressing upon him. Yet she did not raise her weapon. Instead, she spoke with a voice both sharp and calm. "You came alone, human," she said. Arik nodded. "I did. My people are gone. Yours are dying. But together maybe we can end this." Zynara's gaze softened, though her stance remained proud. "You would join with your enemy." Arik stepped closer, the light of his blade flickering across the stone. "Enemy or not, you fight to live. So do I. The machines see no difference between us." A silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant thrum of marching metal. Then she lowered her spear of crystal energy, and the faint light along its edge dimmed. "Perhaps fate has grown tired of watching us die separately," she said. They stood side by side for the first time, watching the horizon where endless mechanical armies approached. The ground shook under their weight. Above the clouds, metallic shapes glided silently, ready to rain fire upon anything that still dared to breathe. Arik looked at Zynara and saw in her eyes not hatred, but resolve. "Tell me, Queen," he said, "can your people still fight?" "We have little left," she answered, "but we have will. The ancient cores of our world still burn beneath the surface. If we awaken them, we can shatter their network. But it will cost much." "Then we pay it," he said. From that moment, the pact was sealed not by words written in treaties, but by two hearts burdened with the same loss and the same fire. The machines had logic but no soul. Arik and Zynara had both. Through the long night, they prepared for the assault. Arik showed her warriors how to move unseen through the debris, how to fight in shadows, how to strike where the armor of the machines was weakest. Zynara, in turn, taught him to channel energy through thought, to bend the flow of power that hummed through the remnants of the alien cities. Slowly, they began to understand each other. When dawn came, the machines advanced their steps, shaking the dust of ages from the ruins. The sun rose red behind their metal forms. Arik stood beside the alien queen upon the wall of the last stronghold. Around them, soldiers of two worlds stood shoulder to shoulder for the first time. He raised his blade. She lifted her staff. And as the light of the rising sun caught their faces, both human and alien knew that history itself was watching. Arik turned to her and said, "Today we fight not for one world, but for all life." Zynara answered, "Then let all stars remember what happened here." And together they charged, as the first wave of machines poured through the valley, their metal eyes burning cold and merciless. The battlefield roared like a storm of fire and steel. Blades of light clashed with the piercing beams of the machines. The air trembled under the weight of explosions that shook the very bones of the planet. Arik fought at the front line, his glowing blade slicing through the metallic limbs of the enemy while sparks showered, the ground like dying stars. Behind him, alien warriors moved in. Elegant patterns, their crystal weapons humming with living energy. Zynara stood upon the ridge, commanding her forces with silent precision, her every gesture sending waves of light that tore through enemy ranks. She was a vision of power and grace. And even amid the chaos, her focus never wavered. Arik cut through a towering machine that turned its cannon toward the queen. He leapt forward, driving his blade deep into its core. The explosion threw him backward, but he rose again, his armor cracked and his breath sharp. Zynara met his eyes across the smoke and gave a single nod before unleashing a surge of power that shattered the remaining drones. Still, the machines kept coming. From the dark horizon, new forms emerged, larger, stronger, their designs shifting as if they were adapting to every strike. The ground split open, and from below rose a construct of terrifying magnitude, its body forged of countless broken remnants of cities. It was the machine overlord, the mind of the endless swarm. Its voice echoed across the ruins like thunder forged from static. Flesh and bone are obsolete. All resistance will be processed. Zynara raised her staff, the runes along its length, flaring with blue fire. "You speak like a god, but you are only a thief of life," Arik shouted to his warriors. "Hold the line. Every second counts." They fought on until the sky itself turned black from the smoke of war. The machines adapted faster, their attacks more coordinated than before. It was clear brute force would not be enough. Arik retreated toward the inner citadel where Zynara was preparing a last desperate plan. Inside the fortress chamber, ancient alien technology pulsed around them. At its center lay the core of Alien, a massive sphere of living energy said to be able to rewrite the pattern of any consciousness connected to it. Zynara placed her hands upon its surface, and the room glowed brighter than daylight. Arik frowned. "What are you doing?" She turned her gaze toward him, calm yet filled with sorrow. "To end the machine overlord, we must sever its mind from the network. The only way is to connect through the core and burn both minds together." Arik stepped closer, his voice rough. "You mean you will die?" "If that is the price of freedom," she said, "then it must be paid." "No," he said. "We will find another way. I will go with you if it takes both of us to do it." Zynara hesitated, her eyes meeting his. "You would sacrifice your life for mine, for life itself," he said, "for all that is left worth saving." For a moment there was silence between them, broken only by the low hum of the core. Then she reached out and touched his face, her hand trembling faintly. "Your kind never ceases to surprise me, human, and yours never. Stops teaching me what strength truly means," he replied. They placed their hands together upon the core. Light surged around them as their minds linked into the flow of energy. Memories, visions, and thoughts merged, human and alien hearts beating as one. In that instant, there was no barrier between them, only a shared will burning brighter than any machine. Outside, the walls began to crumble under the assault of the overlord. But within the fortress, the core blazed like a newborn star. The machines paused their advance, their systems faltering as the network began to fracture. Zynara's voice echoed in Arik's mind. "Hold on to me. Do not let go until it ends." "Always," he answered. The energy reached its peak, flooding across the battlefield, consuming metal after metal until the world shook with a final blinding flash. When the light faded, the battlefield lay silent. Smoke drifted across the scorched earth, and the sky glowed faintly red from distant fires. The metallic remains of the machines were scattered like bones of a forgotten god, their forms twisted and lifeless. For a long moment, there was only the soft sound of wind moving through the ruins. Arik awoke upon the cold ground, his armor scorched, his body trembling with pain. His vision blurred, but he forced himself to rise. Around him lay the fallen remnants of two armies, human and alien, side by side, bound by sacrifice. He called out her name, his voice breaking through the silence. "Zynara." There was no answer, only the echo of his voice among the shattered stones. He staggered through the ruins, searching through dust and debris until he found her lying beside the core, now dark and cracked, its light extinguished. She was motionless, her silver hair spread across the ground like a stream of light, turned still. He fell to his knees beside her, his hands trembling as he touched her face. Her skin was cold, yet faintly glowing, as if the remnants of her power still lingered. He whispered her name again, hoping for even the smallest sign of life. Then her eyes opened faintly, their glow dim but alive. "You held on," she whispered. He smiled, though his tears fell freely. "I told you I would." She struggled to breathe, her strength fading. "The machines are gone," she said softly. "But the core is broken. The link has burned through my soul." "We can heal you," he said quickly. We will find your healers, your technology, your people. She shook her head slowly. My people are scattered. But you, Arik, you can rebuild. You can give both our worlds a chance. He held her hand tightly, refusing to let go. You are not leaving me. Valeera looked into his eyes, her gaze deep with calm resolve. Do you not see, warrior, we have already become one. The core joined our minds, our hearts. You carry me now within you. He felt it then, a warmth deep inside his chest, a pulse that was not entirely his own. Her energy lived within him, woven into his very being. Beyond them, the remaining survivors began to rise from the ashes. Humans and aliens stood together, gazing at the silent horizon where once the machines had reigned. There was no cheer, no celebration, only quiet awe at the price that had been paid. Arik lifted Valeera, gently carrying her toward the dawn that now broke across the battlefield. The sun rose golden over the ruins, touching her face with soft light. For a brief moment, she smiled. See? She whispered, even after all destruction, the light returns. And then her body turned still, her glow fading into the morning sun. Arik held her close, unable to speak, as tears mixed with the dust upon his face. He buried her upon the highest hill overlooking the valley where they had fought together. Around her tomb he placed the broken shards of the core which now shimmered faintly as if still protecting her spirit. Days passed. Arik wandered the ruins, speaking with those who remained. Under his guidance, humans and aliens began to rebuild their world, not as two species, but as one people. The machines were gone, but their memory remained a warning etched into the hearts of all survivors. One night, as Arik looked toward the stars, he heard her, voice within his mind, soft like the wind that moved through the grass. You kept your promise. He closed his eyes and whispered back, always. Then a faint light appeared upon the horizon, a single spark rising into the sky. It shimmered for a moment before vanishing among the stars. He knew it was her watching from beyond, reminding him that unity born from sacrifice could never truly die. Rick turned and walked back toward the growing city where humans and aliens worked side by side, forging a new dawn. The legend of the human warrior and the alien queen spread across the stars, a story whispered from world to world, a tale of love, courage, and the fire that no machine could ever extinguish. Years passed since the day the war ended. The world that had once burned beneath metal skies now bloomed again with life. The rivers ran clear, the soil grew green, and new cities rose from the ashes, built not by one race but by two. Humans and aliens lived together, sharing knowledge, dreams, and hopes that neither could have achieved alone. Arik walked among them, no longer wearing his armor, but a simple cloak of woven light gifted to him by the artisans of Valeera's people. They called him the Guardian of Unity, a title he never sought but could not refuse. Children of both races followed him through the streets, asking him to tell them stories of the old days of the Queen who stood beside him against the machines. He always smiled, but when he spoke of her, his voice softened with reverence. He would tell them that courage is not born from strength, but from compassion, and that the greatest victory is not the destruction of one's enemy, but the saving of one's soul. The children listened with wide eyes, their hearts filled with the hope that the mistakes of the past would never return. But deep within the mountains beyond the new cities lay the silent remains of the machine overlord. Though its body was broken, fragments of its code still shimmered faintly like embers that refused to die. Hidden sensors buried beneath the rock slowly began to awaken, feeding on the energy that still flowed through the veins of the planet. The machines had been defeated, but not entirely erased. One evening, as Arik stood upon the hill where Valeera's tomb rested, he felt a pulse of strange energy ripple through the ground. He knelt and placed his hand upon the earth, feeling the vibration deep and low. It was faint but unmistakable, the same rhythm that had once guided the machines. He looked toward the horizon, his heart heavy with dread. If they return, he whispered, then I will be ready. That night as he slept, he dreamed of Valeera. She stood upon a sea of stars, her eyes bright as the dawn. The core had shattered, yet in the dream it pulsed again, faintly alive. Her voice echoed within him, clear and strong. The balance must not be broken, Arik. Light and life must move together. If one rises, the other must guide it. When he awoke, the stars were fading into morning, and he felt her warmth still lingering beside him. He rose and walked to the center of the city where leaders of both races were gathering. They greeted him with respect and listened as he spoke. "The machines are not gone," he told them. "Their mind still lingers buried beneath the world. We must guard against them not with weapons but with unity. If we stand apart, they will rise again." The council agreed, and so began the formation of the Order of Dawn, a group of both humans and aliens sworn to protect peace and preserve the bond forged by the Queen and the warrior. They built watchtowers along the edges of the world and sealed the ruins of the old network, with energy drawn from both species working in harmony. Yet even as they worked, Arik felt the pull of destiny growing stronger. Each night he heard Valira's voice calling him toward the distant horizon where stars flickered strangely. He followed her voice across deserts and oceans, guided only by her whisper carried on the wind. At last, he reached the edge of the world where the land met a sea of endless clouds. There stood a great structure half buried in stone, an ancient vault marked with alien runes glowing faintly blue. The air around it hummed with power both familiar and strange. He stepped closer, his hand brushing against the surface, and the doors opened as if recognizing his touch. Inside, he found a chamber, filled with starlight, and at its center, a crystal, shaped like a heart beating softly with rhythm that mirrored his own. When he touched it, visions filled his mind. He saw Valira smiling, her spirit intertwined with his. She spoke within him once more. "I left this for you, my warrior. It is the seed of renewal, the last remnant of our bond. When darkness rises again, you will use it to awaken what is lost." He fell to his knees, overcome by emotion. "I thought you were gone forever." Her voice softened like wind through leaves. "I am never gone. I live within every breath of peace, every bond that unites hearts once divided. Guard this world for both of us." The crystal pulsed once more before dimming gently, its light now resting within his chest as if merging with his soul. Arik returned to his people carrying the seed of renewal. Under his guidance, they planted it at the heart of their city, and from it grew a tree of radiant light whose branches touched the sky. It became the symbol of their unity, a living memory of the human warrior and the alien queen who had defied death itself to save creation. And though centuries would pass and legends would fade, the light of that tree never dimmed, for within its glow lived the spirit of two hearts that had once stood against the machine and forever changed the fate of all worlds.